إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So inshallah I continue with our lesson on questions and answers on Aqeedah. That was authored by one of the scholars that are well known from contemporary scholars of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, who passed away at a young age and authored a number of books in Aqeedah, and this is from them, where in general it will give an overview of the Aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The Aqeedah of the safe sect that the Prophet Muhammad mentioned, ستفترق الأمة إلى 73 فرقة كلها في النار إلا واحدة, where he mentioned the Ummah will divide into 73 factions, all of them in the hellfire except for one. And when he mentioned, when he mentions the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they asked, Man hum ya Rasulullah? Who are they? He said, Hum man ana ala ma'ana alayhi al-yawm wa ashabi. They are those who are upon that which I am upon today and my companions. And this book provides a general overview of the Aqeedah of what the Prophet Muhammad was upon and his companions. That gives us the foundations to know when it comes to judging people from being from the people of Sunnah or not, is based upon these principles, nothing else. We can't base the judgment of a person being from the people of the Sunnah based on contemporary issues of differences of opinion that are not based on the fundamentals, the foundations of what Islam, what the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah was built upon. For example, you find a person says, this person's a Mubtadi', this person's an innovator. Why? Because my Shaykh said. Why? Because he doesn't consider this Shaykh to be an innovator. Okay, طيب, هل أجمع أهل السنة والجماعة على أن هذا الشيخ مبتدع? Did all of the scholars of Ahl Sunnah Jama'ah say that this person's an innovator? La. So why am I obliged, as a general person, a layman, someone who's trying to aspire to be a student of knowledge, why am I now obliged to consider someone to be an innovator? And these are the principles that unfortunately have caused a lot of differences and disunity among the people of the Sunnah. لا أقول المسلمين, أقول أهل السنة والجماعة, the people that attribute themselves to the Sunnah. فنسأل الله السلامة والعافية وأن يؤلف بين قلوبنا ويصلح أحوالنا اللهم آمين. So with that, we now go on to the new topic of Al-Iman bil-Rusul. Al-Iman bil-Rusul, and that is matters to do with Iman regarding the messengers. We spoke about the Quran in relation to Al-Iman bil-Kutub, and now the next section that the author rahimahullah went on to mention is Al-Iman bil-Rusul. فقال رحمه الله ما دليل الإيمان بالرسل. What is the evidence of belief or Iman regarding the messengers? Now, أدلته كثيرة من الكتاب والسنة. And the author he mentioned the evidences are many from the Quran and the Sunnah. And just another thing to mention, the beautiful style of this book from the author rahimahullah. Not only does he mention a question that one would be asked, he also tells you how to answer that question. So he gives you those foundations that give you firm knowledge to understand for yourself. So he mentions the evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah are abundant. There are many. There are many evidences. So he says, قوله تعالى إن الذين يكفرون بالله ورسله ويريدون أن يفرقوا بين الله ورسله ويقولون نؤمن ببعض ونكفر ببعض ويريدون أن يتخذوا بين ذلك سبيلا أولئك هم الكافرون حقا واعتدنا للكافرين عذابا مهينا والذين آمنوا بالله ورسله ولم يفرقوا بين أحد منهم أولئك سوف يؤتيهم أجورهم. So here it mentions where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions indeed those who disbelieve in Allah Azza wa Jal and His messengers, and they want to differ between Allah and His messengers, and they say we believe in some and we disbelieve in some, they want to take a path a path in between that, then they are the ones who have disbelieved in reality, and we have prepared for those who disbelieve a shameful punishment. And those who believe in Allah and His messengers, and they do not differ between any of them, they are the ones who will be given their reward. When we say we do not differ between the messengers, what does this mean?
We don't deny we don't say they're not.
We don't say what?
We don't deny, we don't say they're not prophets, they're not messengers.
No, we don't say this one's not a prophet or messenger, that one. We don't say we believe in some of them, we disbelieve in some of them. All of those who have been informed out that they are informed of in the Quran and Sunnah, they are a prophet or messenger, we affirm it. Whether we know their story or we don't know their story, you see. Because you find from those who disbelieve from before, they say we don't believe in this prophet, for example. We don't believe in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't believe in Musa alayhi salam. Nor do you believe in this prophet. This is not the way of the Muslim. Rather, the Muslim believes in all of the prophets and messengers, that we know their story and we don't know their story. يعني نؤمن تفصيلا وإجمالا. We believe in the prophets and messengers in detail and in general. Now, so of the things that is mentioned regarding belief in the messengers is what is meant by a prophet and a messenger. There are a number of difference of opinions between you mentioned the difference between a prophet and a messenger. We will mention that which is mentioned. So the first opinion regarding the difference between a prophet, a nabi wa rasul, and a prophet and a messenger. They mention al-rasul هو الذي أوحي إليه وحي وأمر بتبليغه. That's the first opinion regarding a rasul. They mention it's a messenger who received revelation and was commanded to convey. As for Nabi, they mention هو الذي أوحي إليه ولم يؤمر بتبليغه. The Nabi, they mention, is one who received revelation but was not commanded to convey that revelation. Mujahid, the students of Ibn Abbas, he mentioned النبي وحده الذي يكلم وينزل عليه الوحي ولا يرسل. Mentioned the Prophet is one who was spoken to and received revelation but was not sent. I sent with that revelation to convey it. Now, the second opinion, الرسول الذي أرسل أو أرسل إلى الخلق بإرسال جبريل عليه السلام إليه عيانا. It mentions that the Rasul is the one who was sent to the creation via Jibril being sent to them specifically, عليه السلام, because Jibril عليه السلام was صاحب الوحي. Jibril عليه السلام was the one who was entrusted with conveying and carrying revelation. So he mentioned the one who was sent to creation but received revelation from Jibril alayhi salam. I must mention النبي, they say الذي تكون نبوته إلهاما أو مناما وهذا القول منسوب للفراء. They mention, as for النبي, this is another statement. They mention one who the prophethood was based on inspiration or by way of a dream. By way of a dream, not by way of revelation as such. The third, الرسول من أوحي إليه شرع جديد. الرسول, the one who received a new legislation. So not only did they receive revelation, but they also received a new legislation. النبي هو المبعوث بشرع من قبله. And they say, the other statement, that Nabi, a prophet, is the one who was sent with the same legislation as the one who came before him. The fourth, as for what is mentioned here, ليس من الشرط أن يكون الرسول من أوحي إليه برسالة أو بشرع جديد. It's not a condition for a person to be considered a messenger, they have to have received a new legislation. Now, also, because what's mentioned, Dawood wa Sulaiman كان رسولين وكان على شريعة التوراة. That Dawood and Sulaiman were two messengers, and they were on one sharia. They were upon one sharia, one legislation. Also, the thing that's mentioned, the fourth opinion regarding the two meanings, الرسول من أرسل إلى قوم مخالفين له. They mentioned Al-Rasul is one who was sent to people that opposed him. وَالنَّبِي أُرْسِلَ إِلَىٰ قَوْمٍ مُوَافِقِينَ لَهُ. And the Prophet was sent to those who agree with him. People that agree with him. This is also of the statements that are mentioned. The fifth difference of opinion, الرسول من أنزل إليه كتاب وشرع مستقل مع المعجزة التي ثبتت بها نبوته. It mentioned a messenger is one who received a book and legislation, an individual book and legislation, something new, a legislation that's new, a book that is new, with a miracle that affirms their prophethood, with miracles that affirm their prophethood. I say, أن النبي هو من لم ينزل عليه كتاب وإنما أوحي إليه أن يدعو الناس إلى شريعة رسول قبله. It mentions, they say, that a prophet is one who did not receive a book. However, it was revealed to them to call people to the legislation of the messenger that came before them. These are the difference of opinion mentioned by Ahl al-Ilm. Now, of the things that is mentioned, أقرب الأقوال, the most, the closest to that which is true, الرسول من أرسل إلى قوم مخالفين له. نعم. والنبي من أرسل إلى قوم موافقين له أو لم يؤمر بالتبليغ. They mention the one that seems closest to that which is correct, that the messenger is one that was sent to people that oppose them, and the prophet was sent to those people who agree with him, or one who was not commanded to convey the revelation. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Ala ayyi halin, regardless of the situation, kullu rasul nabi wa laysa kullu nabi rasula. Every messenger is also a prophet, but not every prophet is a messenger. Wa awwal al-rusul, the first of messengers, man, Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam. Why? بين آدم ونوح كما جاء في الحديث ابن عباس رضي الله عنه هما بين آدم ونوح 10 قرون كلهم على التوحيد. Between Adam and Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam was 10 generations. All of them were upon التوحيد. فبدأ الشرك أو ظهر الشرك في عهد نوح عليه الصلاة والسلام. So shirk started or became manifest during the time of Nuh alayhi salam. وبدأ بخطوات. It came in steps. نعم. كان هناك من الصالحين. There were those who were from the righteous. وكان الناس يقتدون بهم. The people used to follow their ways. After their death جاءهم الشيطان وقال يعني سووا يعني صور, make images of them, statues, يعني بس من سبيل الذكرى, يعني تذكرة, as a means to remind you of their ways, as an encouragement to follow them. So if you know, for example, this person was a righteous man, كان يكثر عبادة, كان يتصدق, كان صاحب الكرم, this person was generous, this person was abid, known to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly. فإذا رأيته تذكر نفسك بما كان عليه. When you see them, you remind yourself of how they were to try and imitate them. هكذا كان في بداية الأمر. This is how it was in the beginning, right? لكن بعد الأجيال, after generations, ماذا حصل؟ جاءهم الشيطان وقال آباؤكم كانوا يتعبدون لهؤلاء. Your forefathers used to worship these people, these statues. كانوا يقدمون لهم أطعمة وأشربة وكانوا يذبحون لهم. They used to bring for them food and drink and sacrifice for them. لأنهم أقرب إلى الله منكم. Because they are closer to Allah عز وجل from you. فكانوا يتوسلون بهم إلى الله. So they used to seek closeness to Allah via them. هكذا جاءهم الشيطان. This is how shaitan comes to them. هل كان أحد في عهدهم موجود? Was any of them that were alive at the time of هؤلاء الصالحين present at that time? لا. فلا أحد ينكر. There's no one there to say this is not correct. And now ماتوا because they passed away. هكذا لازم أن نعلم أن الشيطان هو عدو مبين ولا يأتي العبد مباشرة. We have to understand from this, shaitan being the clear enemy, he doesn't just come to you directly. بل يأتي بخطوات. وحتى تقع في الشرك خطوة خطوة. He comes with steps leading you to shirk. على سبيل المثال, for example, المولد. المولد دخل في المسلمين في سنة 400 هجري. Mawlid was introduced to the Muslims in the year 400 Hijri. 400 years after the time of who? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So that means no Sahabi, no Tabi'i, no Tabi'i, none of the A'immat al-Arba', the four madhahib, not one of them was upon celebrating Al-Mawlid. And of the things that they mention, all of these adillah that they try to bring in istidlal fasid, batin, their false usage of evidence. They say, for example, one of the Sahaba asked to praise the Prophet Muhammad with poetry, and there was 30,000 companions present. هل هذا يدل على احتفال بالمولد? Does that mean, is that evidence to say praise of the Prophet Muhammad shows it's permissible to celebrate Al-Mawlid? لا. So what happened? It was introduced by Al-Rafidah, the Shia. Those who are not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah Aslan. Those who are not from the people of the Sunnah, they introduced this practice. And now what happens? What do people do in Al-Mawlid, ihtifal bil-Mawlid? هناك طوائف, there's different people. غلاة الصوفية, those who are the people of Sufism of a extreme, believe the Prophet Muhammad ينزل عندهم. They'll believe the Prophet comes to those celebrations. ويذبحون للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم تعظيما للرسول. And they will sacrifice in glorification of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من ذبح لغير الله فقد أشرك. Whoever sacrifices for other than Allah has fallen into shirk. الحاصل أنهم من هذه البدع أدوا إلى الشرك. From this innovation, they start to lean and fall into matters from shirkiyat. Some of them يدعو النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مباشرة. Some of them call upon and make dua to the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. وهذا من الشرك. This is also from matter of shirk. And this is the harm of straying away from masadir at-talaqqi, the sources where we take our religion from. Because when we look at the mistakes that we've been warned about of the other nations, the Nasara wal Yahud, sometimes as Muslims we are falling in the same mistakes. The masdar من أين نأخذ ديننا? Where do we take our religion from? لأن هؤلاء يأخذون أديانهم بآراء الناس. These people, they take their religion based upon opinion of people. ولكن Allah سبحانه قال اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Allah mentioned يوم عرفة في الحج. نعم. لما ودع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أصحابه والأمة, and the person bid farewell to the whole ummah, knowing his time was coming. Allah revealed, today I've completed your religion. I've completed my favor upon you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala فضل علينا بالإسلام من علينا بهدايته إلى الإسلام. Allah favored us with guidance to Islam. And Allah was pleased with Islam as our religion. فقال الإمام مالك رحمه الله ما لم يكن حينئذ دينا أو يومئذ دينا فلا يكون اليوم دينا. Whatever was not from the religion that day, it will not be from the religion today. وهذا هو الميزان. مصادر تلقي الدين. From where do we take our religion? Because that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved Islam. قال الله تعالى عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنك لا تهدي إلى صراط مستقيم. You guide to a path that is straight. ما ذكر الله تعالى سبلا. Allah didn't mention paths. لأن هذا الصراط واحد. Because this path is only one. Only one. Now, so مصادر تلقي الدين, the sources where we take our religion from, الكتاب والسنة وإجماع السلف, the Quran and the Sunnah and consensus of the Sahaba and the Tabi'in وأتباع التابعين, القرون المفضلة, the three pious predecessing generations of Islam. الذين قال عنهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خير الناس قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. The best of mankind is my generation, then those who follow them and those who follow them. الصحابة والتابعين وأتباع التابعين. So it's important for us to understand this, because any time we have people claiming there's a practice that you'll be rewarded for, or the Muslims should celebrate, this is what we measure it with. For example, you have man يحتفل بليلة الإسراء والمعراج. You have those who celebrate the night of Isra والمعراج. هل هذا من السنة؟ لا. And the thing is, the Muslims that incline towards these celebrations, they say you are harsh, متشدد, لا تحب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هلم جرة. All of these different things they say. However, we ask, هل فعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم؟ هل فعل الصحابة رضوان الله عليهم؟ لا، فلا نفعل. ونقول كما قال عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه من أعلم الصحابة كم من مريد الخير لم يصبه. How many people intend goodness but they never attain it? The qissa behind this statement shows us and teaches the harms of opposing the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. During that time, al-qissa ma'rufa. Okay, for those who haven't heard it before, بعد موت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس بزمن, not by a long time after he passed away, كانوا يجتمعون في المسجد. The people had gathered in the masajid or the masjid في حلقات, in different circles. نعم. و يعني بالذكر. You okay? We're safe, Khalid?
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm okay, I'm safe. I see you have your uniform. I have to be cautious now. Allahumma barak. MashaAllah. This is what we need. The young brothers doing BJJ, Jiu-Jitsu, be strong. InshaAllah. Al-mu'min al-qawi خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير. والمقصود بالقوة قوة الإيمان. ولكن يذكر أهل العلم أن قوة الجسم مدخول في الحديث. strength in that hadith is mentioned iman. لأن قوة الجسم بدون إيمان ضعف. A person being strong but the iman is weak, the legs will tremble when the time comes. But as for the ones who are small and maybe feeble but the strength of iman, they are the stronger ones. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yu'ayyiduhum, Allah aids them. You see, but we teach our children to be strong. So now, they were doing circles of dhikr. Say La ilaha illallah 100 times, Allahu Akbar 100 times, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah. في الصورة الظاهرة هذا الخير. From what's apparent, this is good, isn't it? هذا ذكر. ولكن الذكر مشروع وكيفيته كذلك مشروع. Dhikr is something legislated. Also, the method of dhikr is also legislated. And how do you understand something to be innovation? If we look at that example of dhikr, هل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يذكر الله؟ Did the Prophet make dhikr of Allah? بعد الصلاة في المسجد وهو بوحده, when he's by himself? هل أمكن له أن يذكر الله في جماعة؟ نعم أمكن. It was possible for him to do dhikr in a group, isn't it? لكن هل فعل؟ لا. فإذا كان هناك شيء يمكنه أن يفعله ولم يفعل في العبادة فهو من البدع. If we have something that the Prophet Muhammad could have done, it was easy, possible to be done during his time from acts of worship, and he did not do it, then we know this is an innovation. واضح? So when we talk about innovation and bid'ah, it's not just my opinion because I don't like you. I don't like the color of your thobe, the color of your scarf. La. I don't just go up to a random person who's making a mistake in salah and say, Akhi, I don't like you. Your salah is wrong. Why do I even tell him in the first place? لأنني أريد له الخير. Because I want for that person goodness. So if I see someone make a mistake, I'm not going to say to him, look, Akhi, I think you're doing this wrong. I'm going to say, Allah yaftah alayk. May Allah grant you success. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال صلوا كما رأيتموني أصلي مثلا. He said, pray as you have seen me, pray. ولكن يعني الفعل الذي فعلته, the thing that you have done, هذا ليس من هدي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. مثال: مشروع في وقت بعد القراءة أو الذكر أن يمس الجسم. Now, it's legislated at a time after reading Quran or making some adhkar to wipe the body. From that is the face. أليس كذلك؟ نعم. متى يشرع? When is this legislated? قبل النوم. Before sleep. أما الدعاء ومسح الوجه بعد الصلاة, هل فعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم? Wiping the face after salah, making dua, did the person do this? لا. وهناك ضعيف حديث as ضعيف mentions the dua is not answered till you wipe your face after lowering hands. هذا ضعيف. ولكن شرع مسح الجسم قبيل النوم. أما بعد الصلاة فهذا ليست من السنة. ولكن علماء بالقواعد قال لا يمكن نقول أنه بدعة. We don't say it's innovation, ولكن أولى, what's preferred is what? Tark, leaving it off. Why? Because what's best is to follow the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, advice to myself, first and foremost, sometimes نقع في الاستعجال. We fall into matters that are hasty, or we speak on matters without knowledge. For example, musabbih, using the beads for tasbih. هل هذا بدعة؟ لا. الشيخ سامي تيمية رحمه الله قال يعني هناك آثار أن بعد الصحابة فعل. There are some narrations, some of the Sahaba, they did this. However, what do we say? Al-awla was preferred is what? Al-adad bil asabi' kama fa'ala man النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. ولكن صغيري يعني وأنا كنت صغير قلت هذا بدع يا شيخ يعني ابتعد عن هذا. We become so hasty. حماسة, we have that zeal, ولكن إذا لم يكن على علم يسبب مشاكل. That zeal that we have, if it's not built upon knowledge, sometimes it causes problems. فنصيحتي لنفسي أولا والإخواني وأخواتي. Sometimes when we are upholding our Islam, we want to convey, we want to tell the world, and the shaitan has opened the easiest door to falling into mistakes is by TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. So you find people say, I want to benefit people though. People want to benefit without going through the process. It's like someone say, I want to be a bodybuilder without lifting weights. Ajib. I won't have no protein and I won't lift weights, but I'll become a bodybuilder. هل يعقل؟ مستحيل. It's impossible. I'm not going to exercise, but I'm going to be a bodybuilder. Or I'm going to advise you to be a bodybuilder, but me, I'm fat. Make sense? But we want to do the result, right? But we don't want to go through the process. So my advice, anyone who wants to call to Allah Azza wa Jal, anyone who wants to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be patient. That zeal that you have to call to Allah Azza wa Jal, put the energy you have into the process, not the result. What do I mean by this? Seek knowledge. Seek knowledge. Because when we seek knowledge, we learn a number of things. From them, we learn when we should speak, about what we should speak, and to whom we should speak. But when I don't have knowledge, for example, I saw someone on TikTok, they're doing a video about the Salah. They want to encourage people and about the Salah. And they start mentioning things of Ahl al-Ilm, what they say about the Salah. Okay, the issue that we have now, if you don't understand the Arabic language, and I'm not just talking about linguistically, learn the Arabic language, which allows you to learn the language of the scholars and the sciences. Because in each science of Islam, there are terminologies, right? And if you are not privy or privileged to understanding this, you may make mistakes in how you speak about matters. Or if you haven't studied principles. For example, when we mention the different statements of what scholars have said regarding a prophet and a messenger, it mentioned there's one that is deemed to be considered most correct. How do we determine what's most correct when there's many difference of opinion regarding room where there's difference? Not in foundation, not in usul. In usul there's no difference. But in matters where differences, there's room for difference. How do I determine what is the strongest opinion? You see, if I'm not a student of knowledge, I'm not allowed to come and say this is the strongest opinion. I don't know the Arabic language. I never heard it from the Sheikh myself. I'm depending on someone's translation. I don't know who that person is. You see. So what happens? You find they'll say something today and correct themselves tomorrow. Something the day after, correct themselves the day after. And they make so much mistakes because they rely upon their own intellect. And the issue is, yes, I understand you want to do good. You want to do service for Islam. But you have to be patient. And so Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he mentioned in some lines of poetry about guidance for the students of knowledge. He said, أخي لن تنال العلم إلا بستة سأنبيك عن تفصيلها ببياني حرص ذكاء واجتهاد وبلغة وصحبة أستاذ وطول زماني. He mentioned very important principles in how we can attain knowledge. And when we attain knowledge, then we can give da'wah. And the biggest evidence for this, who did the Prophet Muhammad send to call people to Islam? Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Radiallahu anhu. What do we know about Mu'adh ibn Jabal? كان أعلم الصحابة بالحلال والحرام. The most knowledgeable of the Sahaba with that which is halal and that which is haram. هل أرسل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم جاهلا؟ حديث الأحد بالإسلام? Did he send the one who is ignorant, the one who is new to Islam? لا. أرسل إليهم من كان عالما. He sent someone who was knowledgeable. وهناك أحاديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لو لم يكون يعني قومك حديث العهد بالإسلام لفعلت كذا وكذا. We have narrations where the Prophet mentioned, had your people not been new to Islam, I would have done X, Y, and Z. فهذا يدل الداعي. This shows the person who calls to Allah Azza wa Jal, there are principles in giving da'wah. We have to know. Also the statements of the likes of Ali ibn Talib radhiyallahu anhu, حدث الناس بما يعرفون. Speak to the people that which they can understand, that which they can comprehend. أتريد أن يكذب الله ورسوله. Do you want them to reject or deny Allah and His Messenger? Wallahi, I've seen this in simple things that are from the deen. فما بال الأمور يعني عميقة. I was in university. I will not mention this for stories for sake, but I was in university studying Arabic language. And of the, from the mawad, of the things that we had to study, ثقافة الإسلامية أو ثقافة العرب, customs, traditions, culture of the Arab. فكان في موضوع اللباس. It was on the topic of clothing. So I got asked, I mentioned, obviously as a Muslim, إذا كنت ألبس سراويل لا ينزل عن كعبين. If I was wearing trousers, for example, they will never be below the ankle. Why? That's the sunnah. هذا هو الواجب. It's not sunnah, it's wajib. A group of Muslims in my class, what did they say? هذا ليست من الإسلام. هذا ثقافة. They say that's not from Islam. Isbal is not from Islam. Allah musta'an. So this is something that is clear. ما أسفل عن الكعبين ففي النار. ثلاث لا ينظر إليهم الله يوم القيامة مسبل. Whatever is below the ankle is in the hellfire. 3, those who Allah will not look at Yawm al-Qiyamah. One of them, the one who they let the trousers, their garment, any of their garments that fall down go below their ankle. So I mentioned at that time 3 hadith, and they still said this is not from Islam. You see the problem? On matters that we don't have knowledge. Imagine if it's issues that need depth knowledge. That is something basic, and they're rejecting it. So imagine when you go into details on knowledge-based issues with people that are general people, they may fall into kufr. They may say things that take them out of Islam. And sometimes you as the spokesperson are to blame. Why? Because you're speaking to them about matters that are not for them. They don't have the ability to understand these matters. You see? And that's why when you're studying, you find, scholars have advised, al-kutub al-mu'ayyana, yani tadrijan. They mention books that you should study as means that give you stepping stones, building blocks to understand matters. For awwal al-wajibat, what's the first obligation upon us? Haqqullah ala al-ibad. The rights of Allah over mankind. And هذا هو التوحيد. That is worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. هل هناك أهم من ذاك? Is there anything more important than that? No. Only those who don't have knowledge will say otherwise. So if I don't teach people al-asas, I go into matters that are based upon knowledge, I cause more harm than goodness. That's why ليس كل علم يقال. Not everything known is to be said. But when we say al-iman bil-rusul, what does this mean? For us, al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wassalam, he is the one that we are to follow. And that is the meaning of Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Tasdiquhu fima akhbara. We believe in everything he is informed us of. Imtithaluhu fima amara. We obey everything he has commanded us with. Ijtinab ma naha anhu wa zajar. And we stay away from everything that he has forbidden from us. Wa la yu'badu Allah illa bima shara'. And Allah is only to be worshipped as he legislated by way of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وهذا معنى أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. This is what we have to know. Now, I mentioned this before. I remember we was praying in the desert and I prayed with my shoes on. And هذا حج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. أمرنا نخالف من؟ Al-Yahud. He taught us, be different from the Yahud praying your shoes, right? So I'm in the desert, we're outside. I pray in my shoes. I leave the salah. I turn around, the brother's taking off his shoes in the sand. I said, Akhi, why do you take off your shoes? He said, because Musa alayhi salam took off his shoes بالوادي المقدس طوى. طيب. What did the Prophet Muhammad teach us about Musa alayhi salam? Had Musa alayhi salam been alive at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yalla wajaba alayhi tibai. It would have been obligatory upon him to follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's not permissible to use the legislation of the prophets that preceded to go against the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فما كان في القرآن والسنة ناسخ لما قبله. Because that which is in the Quran and the Sunnah abrogates everything that was before. Whatever Allah wanted us to practice from the ways of the Ummah before that He legislated, He mentioned it where? In the Quran and the Sunnah. One example, Siyam Dawood alayhi salam. Everything we have is built upon what? Quran was Sunnah, wa ijma' as-salaf. The best siyam is the siyam of who? Dawood alayhi salam. هل هذا من شرعنا؟ نعم. Allah subhanahu شرعه في عهد داود وشرعه في شرعنا هذا. It was something Dawood practiced and Allah legislated it for us also. Had it not been mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, we would never have followed it. And when we hold on to these principles, understanding why Allah has sent us prophets and messengers, who is it for us to follow? We believe in all the prophets and messengers. لا نفرق بين أحد منهم. We don't differ between any of them. But we follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As we have mentioned, the Prophet said, تركت فيكم شيئين. In one narration, تركت فيكم ما إن تمسكتم به لن تضلوا أبدا. Now, I've left among you that which if you hold on to it, you'll never go astray. Kitabullah wa sunnati. As long as we hold firmly to the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam bil ikhlas, with sincerity, نريد العبادة لله, نريد الصواب اتفاق حج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. We want to be upon that which is correct according to the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. لوجدنا أنفسنا على خير. We will find ourselves upon goodness. As soon as we oppose that which is in the Quran and that which is in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we find ourselves upon evil. لأن المبتدع, the innovator, أشد شرا من العاصي. The person who innovates in a religion is worse than the sinful person. Why? المذنب العاصي يعرف يعلم أنه على خطأ, يعلم أنه يعصي ربه. This person knows that they're doing wrong. This person knows they're falling to sin. فإذا وفق تاب إلى الله. If they're granted success and guidance, they will seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أما الذي خالف السنة لا يرى أنه مذنب ولا يرى أنه مخطئ. The one who goes against the sunnah with innovation, they don't believe they're doing something wrong. Rather, they think they're doing something good, and they'll try to justify it. So they do not make tawbah. And this is the worst situation. Because the Nabi says, مَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. We have so much evidence to teach us that we have to follow the sunnah. But when you are someone who calls to Allah, calls to the sunnah, they say, أَنْتَ مُتَشَدِّد. You're someone who is harsh. لا. أنا أريد لك الخير. والله لا أقول لك شيئا ولا أنصحك إلا وأريد أنا وإياك ندخل الجنة سويا. The only reason I say something to you, the only reason I'm advising you with knowledge, if your place of advice is correct, because even giving advice, it has principle. Commanding good, forbidding evil has principle. I'm only doing because I want Jannah for both of us. Because we all share the attribution to Al-Islam. But we have to make sure this Islam that we attribute ourselves to is correct. Because the three of the companions, they're not general people. One, سأقوم بالليل ولا أنام. I'm going to stand in the night and not sleep. سأصوم الدهر لا أفطر. I'm going to pray, I'm going to fast every day. I'm never going to break my fast. وواحد لا أتزوج النساء. One said, I'm not going to get married. فقالوا نذهب للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. هذا يعني فهم الصحابة. If you see something goes against the sunnah, let's go straight to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam for clarity. أنا أصلي الليل أقوم وأنام. I pray and I sleep. أصوم وأفطر. I fast, I break my fast. وأتزوج من النساء. And I marry the women. فمن رغب عن سنتي فليس مني. Whoever opposes my sunnah, they're not from me. So هناك أشياء مذمومة ولو حسنت النية. There are things that are dispraised even if the intention is good. So the only way to find ourselves upon goodness is understanding the wisdom of Allah sending prophets and messengers. And we will send the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam hadiyan wa bashira wa nadhira, as a means of guidance, a giver of glad tidings, and a warner. A warner of a tormenting punishment for those who oppose the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever the Prophet Muhammad has obligated upon you, then you have to fulfill it, uphold it. And whatever he's prohibited you from, then you are to stay away from it. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If you truly love Allah, Allah said to the Prophet Muhammad, tell them, if you truly love Allah, say, follow me. Who are we following? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Man akhwaf wa atqa nas lillah. Who is one who feared Allah the most? Had the most consciousness and taqwa of Allah azza wa jal? Min Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. La ahad. La yumkin. Wa man a'lam bi Rabb. And who is one who has the most knowledge of our Lord other than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? And this is the danger of innovation. When someone brings something new into Islam, we ask them two questions. هل علمه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو لا? Did the Prophet know it or not? If they said he didn't know it, this is a calamity. This is a calamity. If they said he knew it, then we ask, هل بلغ أو كتم? Did he convey or conceal? Again, they have to be very careful. Because if we say he knew it and he did not convey it, then that is إنكار of ما حصل في يوم العرفة. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال للصحابة هل بلغت؟ فاشهد أني بلغت. Did I convey? Bear witness before Allah that I conveyed. فنقول أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده. This is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He conveyed the message, advised the ummah, fulfilled the trust from Allah Azza wa Jal, and he fought to establish Tawheed in the best way. So if we say there's something in the religion that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do, then this is a calamity. This is a calamity. And it can also lead to kufr. If a person wants to be sound in the Islam, upon us is the Quran and the Sunnah, the understanding of the Sahaba. We will only find ourselves upon goodness if we follow the way of the first, those who embrace Islam, al-Muhajirin wal-Ansar. وَمَنْ تَبِعَهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ. And those who follow them in goodness. نكتفي بهذا. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. نسأل أن يرنا الحق حقا ويرزقنا اتباعه وأن يرنا الباطل باطلا ويرزقنا اجتنابه. We ask her to show us the truth for the truth and make us of those who follow it, and show us falsehood as falsehood and make us of those who stay away from it. Allahumma ameen. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.